For any growing startup, there's this fork in the road. And it's not about marketing or funding, it's about your infrastructure. We're talking about DevOps versus the old school traditional IT approach. Okay, let's dive right in, because this isn't just some techie debate. It is a fundamental strategic choice that's going to dictate the very pulse of your company.
And really, the stakes could not be higher. What you choose here directly impacts how fast you move, how reliable you are, and whether your best people are creating amazing new things or just, spending their nights putting out fires. It's a huge, huge deal.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the problem that every startup faces, those growing pains. Then, we'll look at the two paths you can take, dig into the hard data on speed, talk about the real-world costs and catches, give you some practical steps to get started, and finally, change how you think about this whole thing, seeing it as a core strategic asset.
Every single successful startup hits this wall. It's inevitable. What worked perfectly for, say, 3 engineers in a garage suddenly starts to crack and groan under the weight of more customers, more features, and a bigger team. The simple way of doing things just doesn't cut it anymore.
And this is that critical moment. That informal, hey, it just works approach to shipping code suddenly has very real consequences. All those infrastructure choices that used to be an afterthought, well, now they're front and center, and they're impacting absolutely everything.
So you get to this point, and there are basically 2 main roads you can go down. But I want to be clear, these are not just different processes. They represent 2 completely different philosophies on how you should build and run software.
At the 10,000-foot view, the difference is pretty simple. Traditional IT is all about separate, siloed teams and handoffs. Think of it like a factory assembly line. DevOps, on the other hand, well, that's all about one team having shared ownership across the entire lifecycle of a feature.
Let's look a little closer at that traditional model. See, developers are incentivized to ship new features fast. The operations team, they're incentivized to keep everything stable, which usually means resisting change. This setup creates this natural, built-in friction between the 2 teams. It's not about people not getting along. It's that the system itself pits them against each other. Now, DevOps comes along and just flips that entire idea on its head. It's a cultural shift, really. The same team that writes the code is also responsible for deploying it and making sure it actually works for real customers. This idea of shared ownership, it changes everything. The big question is no longer speed versus stability. It becomes, how do we deliver amazing value to our customers, both quickly and reliably?
Okay, so one philosophy sounds a lot more collaborative, but what does that actually mean in practice? Let's get to the data, because the numbers here are, well, they're kind of staggering, and they really, really tell the story.
I mean, this is the key question, right? If you're a founder or an engineering lead, this is what you want to know. What's the tangible impact? How much faster are we really, truly talking about? Okay, brace yourself for this one. According to the DORA State of DevOps report, which is kind of the gold standard for this stuff, high-performing teams using DevOps deploy code 208 times more frequently. Let me say that again. Not 20% more. 208 times. That's just a colossal, game-changing difference in your ability to iterate.
But it's not just about moving fast and breaking things. It's about being resilient. Those same elite teams, they recover from failures over 2,600 times faster. So when something inevitably goes wrong, they can fix it in minutes, maybe hours, not days or weeks. That is a massive game changer for stability and for customer trust.
All right, let's zoom in a little more with this table here. You can see those insane headline numbers we just talked about, deployment frequency and recovery time. But check out how it plays out across other things. Look at the team structure, cross-functional versus siloed, and look at the cost at scale. DevOps actually gets more efficient as you grow, while traditional IT, well, it just requires more and more people.
Now, as compelling as those numbers are, I gotta be honest, the decision isn't always a simple slam dunk. We need to look at the nuances, right? The hidden costs, the talent market, and the specific scenarios where you might actually choose differently. See, the traditional way has these hidden costs that don't always show up on a spreadsheet. A single ops person can become a bottleneck for the entire company. And crucially, in today's market, top engineers want autonomy. They want to ship their work. They will actively avoid places where it takes weeks to get their code out the door. That friction from all the handoffs doesn't just slow you down, it can cost you your best people. But, to be fair, there are times when the old way absolutely still fits. If you're in a super regulated field like healthcare or defense, that strict separation of duties isn't just bureaucracy, it's often a legal requirement. And look, if you're a tiny, pre-product market fit team of 3 people, the overhead might not be worth it. The real pain point, the inflection point, usually happens right around that 8 to 15 engineer mark.
So, what if you're convinced? You're ready to make a move. Where in the world do you even begin? Let's shift from the why to the how and look at some clear, actionable first steps you can take.
Think of this as your starter kit. First, use source control and what's called basic continuous integration, or CI. All that means is you're running automated tests on every single code change. Second, build in monitoring from day one. You can't fix what you can't see. And third, and this is my favorite, automate your deployment process until it is so routine that it becomes boring. Trust me, a boring deployment is a successful deployment. Okay, let's bring this all home. The final and probably most important takeaway here is about shifting your entire mindset. This isn't just about technical plumbing. This is about building a core competitive advantage right into the DNA of your company.
So, here it is, the main takeaway. DevOps reframes your infrastructure from being just a cost center into a strategic asset that gives you leverage. This culture of automation and ownership is what allows you to scale your operations without having to scale your team in a straight line. It is how you build true operational leverage.
And this quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. The companies that get this right, they simply move faster and more reliably than their competitors who don't. And in the startup world, well, that difference is often everything. So I'll leave you with this one question to really think about for your own company. Take a hard, honest look at how you build and ship software. Is your process an engine that's propelling you forward, or is it an anchor holding you back? The answer to that question just might define your future.